Welcome to my channel Elementary Python for CBSE. Today we are going to discuss another topic using Python library, which is there in the syllabus of class 12 computer science. One of the important features of Python is that it has a huge library and it also uses the concept of batteries included. So in this topic we are going to learn what is a Python library, what are Python modules and how to import Python modules, how to use Python's standard library functions and modules, and how to create our own library package. So a library is a collection of modules and packages that can be used to satisfy some specific type of requirements. As we all know, Python has a huge set of library, and the Python standard library provides modules for various common functionalities like mathematical calculations, statistical calculations, string operations, operations with complex numbers, and many more. Some of the other important libraries are Python Numpy Library for mathematical and scientific computing with tools to create and manipulate arrays, Python Pandas Library for processing data structures and data analysis, Matplotlib Library for producing interesting visual effects or outputs in the form of plots, charts, 2D graphs, etc. and Mysql-connector Library for connecting with MySQL database. There are many more such libraries, but we will limit our discussion to use of Python's standard library here and how to create our own library. As we have seen that the Python provides a standard library having common modules for functionalities, and some of these common modules are random module, math module, string module, cmath for complex numbers, statistics for statistical functions, and so on. So what is a module then? A module is a small manageable unit of code, and in Python how we can create a module? A module in Python is a Python file with .py extension, and it may contain variable definitions, class definitions, function definitions, docstrings explaining these functionalities related to some particular task. Python provides many predefined modules which are called the Python's standard library modules. It also allows to create our own modules that we may use in our program apart from the standard library modules available in Python. The modules provide many benefits, and one of the important benefit is modularization. That is, it modularizes the program. It creates well-defined and documented boundaries within a program. Modules, as they have already been created, they can be reused in our programs without being rewriting them. Use of modules reduces complexity and makes the coding easier. So how can we use these modules in our program? The modules needs to be imported in a program to use the definitions contained in them. The import statement is used for this purpose. Internally, Python executes the code of the module file and makes it available in our program. There are two forms of the import statement. First one is import then module name to import the entire module, or we may import specific objects from the module using the second style, that is from module name import object name. Let us see an example of this two form of using modules. So to import the math module, what we have to do, we have to write import math. Okay, now we have imported math module, but how we can use that? To use the modules that are imported with the import statement, we need to provide the module name, and we can use the object dot notation like this. To use any definition in this, the module name has to be prefixed. So if we are importing math and we want to use the square root method, then we have to use it like math dot square root. However, we may simplify this We may avoid using the full name by using a sort alias instead of the full name, that we will see in a while. And the other one is from module import object name. This may import specific objects. We cannot use all the objects of that module, but there is no need to prefix the module name and we can use it directly. So let us see the difference between the two forms. And so import math. Now to use the square root method, I have to write math dot. As soon as we place a dot, this automatically provides us the definitions that are there in the math module. For example, suppose we want to have the value of pi, then we can simply select it. So math dot pi, so it gives us the value of pi. Similarly, we can use an alias instead of using the full name, like this. Suppose I am writing input math and then followed by as, followed by a sort name. Suppose I am giving it as m. So now I can very easily write m dot. It will still provide me the list of various methods in math module. So I write sqrnt. So square root module, I want to find out the square root of 6. So this gives me the square root of 6. Now if I don't want to use all the definitions and I want to only use a specific definition, for example, from math input e epsilon. Now I can directly print this e or so it gives the value of e. This way we can import different modules that are available in the Python standard library and use it in our program. So today let us discuss one of the small module small but useful module in our Python library, that is the random module. So random module, it is used to generate pseudo-random numbers. It can be imported by specifying the module name as import random. This random module contains some definitions that we will see in a while, but the two important random number generator functions in random module are random and rand_int. Whereas random returns a floating point number in the range of 0 to 1 but excluding 1, rand_int returns a random integer value in the range of a to b including both a and b. So let us see some examples of the random module again and go to the Python ideally. We will import the random module giving a small alias, sort alias, like say r, capital R. Now I can use r.random and let us see what value does it return. So it has returned a value between 0 and 1. Let us see whether it provides another different value. Yes, this time a different value. If we do it again, it will again provide another different value. So rand_int, and let us provide two integer values, say 1 and 6. So we want to get any value between 1 and 6, and this time it has been provided 3. Let us give it another, and we got, luckily we got a 6, and another time and again a 6. So once again let us see what value does it return, this time a 3, and so on. One more thing we would like to discuss here is, though random method returns a value between 0 to 1, we can modify this. Suppose I am multiplying random value with say 100. So So we got a value 68, and this will generate a random number between 0 and 100. However, we may also change the lower bound. For example, suppose I want to generate random numbers from 10 to 100, then I can simply add the lower limit to it, say 10, and now we get a random number which is more than 10. Every time we do it, we will get a random number between the lower limit and the upper limit. Okay, so this way we will get the random numbers, and we can change the random method to have a range rather than this normal or standard range of 0 to 1. So I have a slide describing some examples of this, the random method and the changing the upper limit of the random method, changing the lower limit as well as the upper limit of the random method, and then the use of randint to generate random integers between 5 to 10. There is one useful example of simulating a dice. Just we are looking at an example of randomIT where we have given the range of 1 to 6. We can have small game kind of programming where how many times one is getting a 6. For that I have written a small program. We are importing the random module. We are using a counter, initializing it to 1, checking whether it is less than 10. We are allowing 10 times to throw the dice. We are checking for the result, the value that the randint function returns, and we are printing the result. We are comparing it whether the result is a 6 or not, and if it is a 6, then we conclude. And each time we throw a dice, we increment the counter. If after 10 throws it does not get 6, then we print a message, try again. So that's all for today. Bye and have a good day.